Part 34 of the amazing chicken coop build. So we took the piece of scrap FRP that we cut from the sheet that we're doing for the bottom piece that goes across in here, and that is going to be 4.5 inches, just like the plywood that it sits upon. And I put some FRP glue on there, glued it on. These pieces here, they came from the door that we cut out over here, and that fits right in that little hole. And it doesn't matter that there's a little bit of overlap there. That's just going to give this door something to swing up against and help stop that door. Next, what else did I do? So I finished up this piece, got that cut and put in. That comes out to 21 by 28 1/4 approximately. And then I cut these pieces 15 1/4, and I laid those in there with enough space in between here that you could stick a 2x4 in there. And then I pre-drilled these holes all the way through and punched through the FRP, and then ran the screw in there just so I wouldn't have split outs. So use that little drill bit right there. And then one of the reasons that I put these on here was just to basically hold this sheet to keep it from sliding. I wanted to make sure that was not going anywhere. And then on this side here, we're gonna have 3 2x4s at approximately 42 7/8 inches. They're gonna go here, here, and here to span across the middle. And you might think, geez, that's a lot of support, but I'm gonna be standing inside here when I assemble the whole thing, so I need enough to hold up my big old behind. So this one here, this was a piece of scrap, and that was another piece of scrap that I had off of whatever. So you can cut it out according to what you have for materials. And then this one here is 12 inches by 43. So now you could have all these cut out and go ahead and attach them to the frame and everything before you stood these walls up and put them together. But by golly, what you think is going to happen and what actually happens sometimes are two very different things, especially with this this wood, depending on how much moisture is in it. I mean, you can have variations of close to 1/4 inch. So I found it's just easier to go ahead and do this inside of this box, even though I'd like to come up with a good set of measurements so I could do it all without having to do this, and I'd have all the parts cut ahead of time, but that's not going to happen probably. So about 11 1/4 on this one, 11 1/4 here, and same 43, I believe it was, across the width. It is so hard to do all this with one hand, I tell you what. So I got my piece of FRP already pre-cut, and I found it was a little bit easier, rather than trying to measure the FRP, just to use the piece I'm going to put it on and trace out the pattern. All right, going in the pocket. So, blam, FRP. Now, I put the FRP glue on the back, and I would have used some probably inch pan head screws, but I don't have any in the hardware stores out. So I'm gonna put this up here with some staples to hold that while the FRP glue dries. And I thought this was gonna cause these to blow out, but it turns out that it's not actually too bad. So as long as you kick the gun back at an angle, see that, so it's not actually making contact, then when you shoot it in there, it's not going to blow all the way through the FRP. So that'll hold that on there while that glue's drying. And then I'm going to cut 4 more pieces 15 1/4 and go across this side right here and do the same spacing that I have over here. So we got 15 1/4 1.5 inch space. You got to leave just a little bit extra because otherwise you're not going to be able to get it in there. And then 15 1/4, same all the way down. And then one of them I had to trim off a little bit because you can see the wood itself is not totally 100% straight. You're going to have some warpage and stuff like that because some of this wood that I used had been sitting drying for 6-8 months, so it tends to warp and go wherever it wants to go. It's really hard to pull it tight. And then this is sitting on top of this screen, so that's also going to kick it out a little bit. So unless you're trying to build a piano, you're going to have what you got. And it's all going to be covered up because we got that big sheet of FRP is going to drop right in the bottom here. So once that's in, you're never going to see none of that anyways. If that little hole bothers you, then you can cut a little. I'm going to cut a little piece of that board right there, stick it in the little hole, but it's not going to hurt nothing. So the main thing we're trying to do is just this FRP here. We didn't have to go all the way up on the side here. I just did it because I knew the chicken droppings are going to go down the side, and it gives you ability to be able to clean this. You really only need it from here down all the way around because that's where your litter is going to be at. But I just wanted this to look nice and clean and do a good job on it, so that's what I'm trying to do. And then after we get done getting these pieces fit in here so we can drop the bottom in here, then we're going to close this tailgate and we're going to cut a piece of plywood that fits inside of that hole. So it has to be smaller than the tailgate because it has to be able to close. So it's going to fit inside here. We're going to put a piece of FRP on the top of that, and then that's going to give us a nice little tailgate to be able to drop down whenever it comes time to clean this whole bed out. And that's it until next time.